day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Youngnaire. And if you're a youngin and you're struggling, it's time to get to hustling. Okay, y'all already know who I am. I'm Nadia Holt. I'm 21 years old.
I'm Soleil Holt, and I'm 16.
And we are social media managers and UGC creators in
Let's
Atlanta, baby. Y'all already know why we're here, to encourage our younginaires to become their own boss. Okay, so let the people know who we have here today.
Today, we have another OG.
He
has his own insurance company and is a financial advisor and wealth mastery coach. Let's give it up for Mr. Marvin Mitchell. We got him in the house today.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Y'all are doing y'all thing, motivating this new generation, and I cannot wait to support. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. Let's get into it.
So where are you from? Like, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Okay, backstory. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. Say St. Louis, stand up where y'all at. Home with Nelly, y'all know Nelly. But no, I was born and raised in St. Louis, and really got an incredible story because I grew up poor. Father wasn't around in the hood in St. Louis. Y'all know probably rated one of the most dangerous places in the world. Father was in jail my whole life, still in jail, in fact. And we were homeless at one point, and was able to take that, the circumstances of my life, and really create success to where I've been able to create 3 multi-million-dollar companies.
Wow.
And in fact, today, just at the time of this recording, just received a Lifetime Achievement Award by the President of the United States.
Oh, wow. That's great. Give him his flowers. Give him his flowers.
Thank you.
So, how did you get into entrepreneurship? Did you start out as a 9-to-5er and then transfer over, or were you always bitten by the
So
entrepreneurial bug?
when I went to, good question. So when I went to, first person in my family graduated from college. And then when I graduated from college, I attended law school for a semester. And then after law school, my grandmother became sick with cancer. So I decided to move back to St. Louis to help out my grandmother.
Yeah.
And really it was during that time that she made me her durable power of attorney. What that means is I was now responsible for managing her money. And because she couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I saw her like lose a lot of her money, like half of her money when the stock market crashed. She didn't have like long-term care insurance, so she ended up passing away like without any money, like broke. So that kind of inspired me to say, well, I need to do what I do to make sure I'm a generational curse breaker and this doesn't happen. So I started my career at a big financial firm as a financial advisor for a company like Edward Jones when I was 20 or 21, so your age. And then 2 years later, no, I stayed at Edward Jones, which was a company for 5 years. And then once I realized that the company, I didn't feel that they were doing what was in the best interest of the clients, I decided to start my own company, and then I became a self-employed financial advisor. So now it's been about 13, 14 years now.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I know you're not exactly a real estate investor, but you do invest in real estate in
dabble a little
some
bit.
part, jack of all trades, some might say. So what do you do in the real estate industry?
Sure. So thankfully, as a financial advisor, I was able to create a lot of value and create a lot of revenue in my company.
Yes.
And I decided when I went into real estate, I tried single family for a while, and I still do have some single family homes. But what I really found success in is multifamily. So that's like 70. So when I say multifamily, I'm talking about big apartment complex. Like I own a 76 unit property, another 74 unit property. So I own 450 units, over 450 units now, along with partners. So what I found though, the biggest thing I found, and this is for everybody who's listening, you can, it's not harder to go bigger. It's actually easier to go bigger. A lot of people say, well, let's start off in wholesaling, and then maybe I'll buy one unit, and then maybe I'll work my way up to flipping, and then after I flip it, then I'll work my way up to multifamily. No, it's just as easy to learn the skills and just go bigger right away. Because it's not harder, it's just a different skill set.
Yes.
Speaking to me, Mark.
It's easier to make a lot of money in a little bit of time than it is to make a little money in a lot of time.
Take me to church. Take me to church. So, I know you were an author as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your book? What's going on over here?
Yeah, so I do have have 3 books. One of my books is called Retire Early. I have another book called Mistake-Free Retirement. Another one called Protecting Your Retirement Nest Egg. And then my latest one that came out is called Become Your Own Bank. And so you all know Becoming Your Own Bank. You all had one of my people on, Keon.
Yeah,
Keon, he talked to y'all some about Becoming Your Own Bank. I saw that episode, I'm sure was fire. But what I do is I'm known for helping people to make money off their money 3 to 4 times off the same dollar. So leveraging their money, instead of going to the bank, I show them how to build up, especially when you're young, if you can build up your own bank now, you can borrow against it. You can have your money growing in one area, and then you can make that money grow in real estate or car rentals or Airbnb, whatever you want to, and all of that money is growing for you at the same time.
That is so dope. So you've been in the not real estate, I'm sorry. You've been in the entrepreneurship game for, a good while. So can you describe a time for us when you were like thinking of giving up, and how did you keep going?
Yeah, so when I wanted to give up a lot of times. Let's say, and it's probably gonna happen again, but I'm gonna keep going, right? So, but I know when I was when I had first started, I was 21. I had just left. Told you I left Edward Jones to start my financial company. In about 5 years later, after I started Edward Jones and started my financial company, all hell broke loose. Like when I say, so I was engaged to be married, that broke off. I was attending a church, and then I decided not to go to the church, and the whole church shunned me. So those were my friends, and I had another situation that happened that was like, I got a frivolous lawsuit from Edward Jones when I left because they thought I was trying to take their clients. So like everything like kind of went to hell at the same time. So I used to knock on doors because that's how we got clients back then. It's like we were knocking on doors, and still a little bit today. So as I'm knocking on doors, get the doors slammed in my face, and realized it was tough. So not only emotionally was I going through the void of losing friends, people who were close to me, and going through all of that, but I also had to deal with the fact that entrepreneurship was hard.
Yes.
So I remember many days that I knocked on all those doors and talked to 20 to 25 people. And then I went home and I was crying, and I cried many nights. And tears were literally falling on the thank you cards that I was writing to people. So I was still going and still progressing, even though like I was going through what I did emotionally. So the lesson that I learned from that is, number one, it built character. Number two, it's like, don't stop. Like, no matter if you're feeling good or bad, keep going, because your emotions are going to go in ebbs and flows. But if you stay consistent, if you stay disciplined, if you stay persistent, success will come. The only way you lose is if you quit. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. You never really lose.
Definitely. But when you're going through all those things, like, what kept you afloat? What was going through your mind that was like, all right, I'm still going to do
Look,
it.
I would say just by the grace of God, because I wanted to, like, literally I wanted to quit so many times, but like, I just remember my grandmother, and I remember that was kind of like she had passed away by this time, so I remember growing up poor. I remember all the nights that I had that I was walking around a block, and I didn't know what color to wear because it was like Bloods on one side of the street and Crips on the other side, and I remember just being homeless, and I remember seeing my mom struggle, and I remember all of those things, and as I remember those, like, it motivated me to say, I can't go backwards, I gotta keep going, so that's where it started. And now it's different, because instead of being motivated just by not going back, it's motivated for all of the people that I know I'm meant to reach. And if I don't do what I'm supposed to do now, I could be impacting millions of people's lives that could have got my information that didn't get it. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you all a question. Like, what got you?
Switch it up on me.
So what got you all? Because you all are young entrepreneurs, which is great, 16 to 21. Like, how did you? I'm just curious for my own perspective. How did you all get started in this entrepreneurship journey at such a young age? And like,
Started
got a whole
separately,
podcast.
and just kind of merged together eventually.
I would say everything comes from our bonus mom and my dad. They're both entrepreneurs. They kind of like instilled, like, you don't have to go to college. You can figure out how to
Yeah.
So they kind of been the bug in our ear, and our bonus mom, she told us to do a podcast like a really long time ago,
Yeah.
and I was like,
No, yeah.
Like a podcast? That's crazy.
That's really crazy. But then we were
That's
like,
too much.
What made you all say yes?
it was really me. I had a couple people
Yeah.
from high school because I've been doing a couple different things in entrepreneurship. I had a cleaning business. I helped people set up Airbnbs. So I did a couple different things, and I had people from high school that would ask me questions about it. And I was like, well, I'm not really like an expert.
Yeah.
So how do I help other people to do, just live a more satisfying life? So I'm like, I can create a platform where I can bring other people who, are experts in their, niche, talk about what they're doing and be able to help other people get there. So I really wanted just a platform where people who are still working a 9 to 5 or who are like, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to work a 9 to 5 no more. Like, come on the podcast. Look at all these different people who are your same exact age who are doing exactly what you want to do, and follow them and figure it out. That's
Well,
that's
you all are
how
like,
we started.
you all are like, this has the chance, this niche on what you all are doing and the audience that you're speaking to in your personalities has an opportunity to be like
Thank you so
one of the greatest podcasts. So just keep going.
Teardrops. Let's see, falling if I did this makeup.
So at what point did you look back at your business and was like, yeah, I'm successful, yo. I'm doing things.
You know what? That's funny because I never felt like, for the longest time, even though I was an entrepreneur, I didn't feel like I was a boss. Like for the longest time.
Yeah.
I was probably like 29 or 30, somewhere around there. And I was like just good at sales, and I was just going. So I was like the number 2 person in this organization, but I still felt like I was just hustle and grind. Like I was like, I didn't think that I was anything special, right? But when I left that organization, and they tried to come after me and like threaten me and sue me and do all kinds of stuff, and really told me that because I was the only black guy in the organization. I had moved up to number 2, and they pretty much said some racist comments and said that we're going to make sure we spend as much money that we can to make sure that we keep you out and keep you down. I was like, what did I do? It don't matter. I was a threat to them because I had so much influence that I didn't know that I had, and they were afraid that more people would come along with me, would follow me. And it was at that point I realized that, wait a minute, they see something in me that I don't even see in myself. What is that thing that they see in me that they would risk everything and spend all of this money just to try to stop me? What are they stopping me from? Because whatever they're stopping me from, I need to find out what it is, and I need to do it.
That's good. I love black wealth. We just read. Ooh, we not giving up over here, okay? But if you could go back, let's say, 15 years with the same knowledge that you got right now, what would you change differently? What would you do differently about your entrepreneurial journey?
It's a good question. What I would do differently is that I would get mentorship a lot faster. I wouldn't be afraid to pay for mentorship and pay for the right people. So this is for all the young people. I'm telling you this because a lot of times I know we're living in this YouTube, this Google society where you feel like I don't need anybody. I'll just look it up and search it and look on social media, and all the information is out there. You are costing yourself more money and more time simply attempting to do it yourself. Where if you just got the help that you need and the information that you need, and hire like an OG who can pay. I'm not an OG, so hire like an OG.
Oh wait, let's look that real quick, because OG don't mean old, y'all. It just means older than us.
No.
That's all it means.
OG means old guy.
Nah, it means original gangster.
Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. I'm just messing with y'all. But so like the thing is that if you want your business to grow and accelerate fast, you got to remember a couple of different principles. Number 1, if you don't pay attention. Number 2, you cannot charge what you're not willing to pay. And number 3, people don't respond to you based on what you do. They don't buy from you, not even because of who you are. They buy from you with the consistent actions that you take every single day.
Yeah.
Like if you're afraid to pay people, people will be afraid to pay you. If you tell yourself all the time, I'll give you a real life story. So there was a financial advisor that I brought on my team.
Mm-hmm.
He was making about $40,000 a year, which was decent.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came and I trained him to be an advisor, like 15 people in a row, they kept saying, I got to think about it. Like nobody said yes. Everybody had to think about it.
Yeah.
And he's in St. Louis, and I remember I was in Atlanta. So he called me and said, look, I'm not closing anybody. I said, well, look, let me help you out.
Yeah.
Fly out to Atlanta the next day. I'm going to spend 4 hours with you, and I'm going to severely limit the amount of I want to think. I'm going to teach you some stuff that's going to limit it, where you're not going to barely get I want to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what he said? I got to think about it. So I said, so that's your problem.
Yeah.
Like, I said, the reason why everybody has to think about it with you is that you give I want to think about it energy, because you always want to think about it. If you want people to stop saying I got to think about it, start being somebody to say yes quickly and successful and commit first and figure out the rest later. And he said, you know what, I get it. He said, I'll be out there, I'll talk to my wife later, but I'll be there. So he ended up coming there, and that year, I helped him out. That year, he went from $40,000 to over $400,000. And this past year, he's going to make over $575,000. And he saw me, 3 months ago, he told me, he said, you know, the turning point was when you gave me that talk about the I want to think about it. And he said, when I started taking action and I stopped overthinking and I just started doing, that's when the business turned around.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But for the Youngnaires that are out there, they got a little bit of extra money, they're trying to get into entrepreneurship game, what would you advise them to invest in? Like,
I know this is going to sound...
it might not be a mentor, because there's a lot, like a really good
I know this is going to sound cliche, but if I take myself back to 18, 19, 20, 21, all the way up to 25, I can sit here and I can tell you a great stock, but that's not going to change your life.
Right.
I can tell you real estate, but if you don't have the right guidance on it, you can lose money in that. And even if you lose money in that, even if you make money in that, you're limiting the productivity that you can actually have. So somebody, I think you all had some OGs, and they probably said the same thing, that the investment that you can make is an investment in yourself. Like, I cannot repeat that. I cannot overstate that. Every time that I invest in myself, it brings me back multiples. And I'm not saying that if you don't have the funds, I'm not saying you go out and spend $10,000, $20,000. But there are programs for like $100, $250 that you can just learn a skill, because you are not learning this in school.
You're not.
College does not train you to be a millionaire. You all are entrepreneurs. Did you learn that in school?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You learned that through people who are entrepreneurs. You learn to be... Let me tell you about this system, right? This is the system, this is the life that they want you to do, right? And you're young enough where you can break out of this mode now. They want you to go to school, get an education, work just to get paid, work just to get paid, get student loans, so that when you do graduate and you're working on a low salary that you can barely live on it, because you got to now pay the student loans back. Then they tell you to put your money into a retirement plan, which is a 401k. They're going to tell you to do that for 30, 40 years and save and be extremely frugal and cheap. Because one day when you turn 60 years old, then eventually you can retire. And then when you retire, this is what they won't tell you, is that you're going to be living on less than you did when you were working when you're retired. And you won't even be able to touch money in that 401k until you're at least 59 and a half. So they're telling you to put your money in prison until you're 59 and a half right now. So if you keep following that system,
want you to die is what you're telling me.
exactly. I just had a client who's 65. He just worked all his life, retired. He retired at 64. 1 year later, he died. Like, it's like
That's
that.
terrible.
It's terrible. And if you know the rules, the great thing about life is that you don't have to live frugal. You can live a life where you have massive amounts of money coming in. You can vacation whenever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can thrive, and you can save in a place where you can touch your money and use it for your businesses and use it now. You don't have to live off of their system when you learn to create your system. Okay.
I'm a pie connoisseur.
Right.
This is
I-
great.
I like to try everything, but hold on. So the pie time questions are not really catered to your industry,
Mhm.
just more entrepreneurship as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to it.
So what personality traits do you think that every good entrepreneur should have?
Any personality trait could actually be a good entrepreneur. However, you need to make sure that you surround yourself with people who are not like you. So I know a lot of introverts who are extremely successful. They don't even like talking to people, but they hire and they bring people on their team that are extroverted and like to go out and market and talk to people. And I know people who, like me, I'm not an extrovert, but I'm a visionary. I'm a big thinker, but I get lost in the detail. I don't want detail. So I got to surround myself with people who are not like me, who are detail oriented. So I just want you all to know, no matter what, people used to think that, oh, only extroverts and talkers and people. That is not true. In fact, a lot of successful people are introverts and they don't like people. So you can win no matter what your personality type. You just got to be committed and dedicated.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
I
you.
love that. So for anybody who is still working a 9 to 5, they really, really want to get into entrepreneurship, but they're very, very hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them to push them over the edge?
Yeah, I would say one of my partners, his name is Storm. He has a saying that says, "Don't fear your job because your job is your first business partner." So instead of just, I know that you want to leave the job, but use the job the same way the job is using you. So when you get your paycheck, instead of just saying, well, let me just pay my expenses or buy the nice clothes and do this, set something aside, not just to save, but to say, I'm setting this aside to invest in my business. And once you get to the point on your side business where you're making close to the income that you're making on your job, then leave. But you need some kind of leverage to sustain your entrepreneurship journey, and the job can be that resource that can get you to the point that you need to be.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful.
So give us a pro and a con of entrepreneurship.
Good. Okay, so a pro is that you can have flexibility and freedom, and you can do whatever you want, and you can go wherever you want. The con is you don't have the flexibility, you don't have any freedom, you can't do whatever you want. You know? So the reason why people think entrepreneurship is not what it truly is when you first start. So I'm gonna tell you this thing about entrepreneurship: you're gonna work a lot harder than you're getting paid for when you first start.
Absolutely. Say it
And
again.
it's gonna be like this. You're gonna work harder than you work in your job. You're gonna be getting paid a whole lot less. But then eventually a turning point happens where, boom, it shifts, and you got to be there for this shift. Where now I'm at a point where I'm making a whole lot more money than I'm actually working. But you got to sustain, and the problem is that most people quit right at that point before it makes that shift.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Very, very true. So if there's any Youngnaires who have parents who are kind of kicking them to go to college, but they have some type of passion, they know, like, there might be something else out there for me. What would you say to them to be able to, just motivate them to really get out there besides, going against their parents' kind of wishes a little bit? Just a smidge.
I would say college isn't for everybody. You can build a lot of good communication skills in college of talking to, some of the people around. So I would never be fully against college but if you do go to college, I will tell you to don't just go to college and go to classes. Like, do your side hustle on the side. I got a friend who went to college and became a millionaire while in college because of things that he was doing on the side and selling it to other college students. Not drugs. I know a lot of people who did that too.
I did think about it real quick.
That's kind of entrepreneurship, right? And another guy I know, he learned how to cut hair, and he's just cutting hair on a college campus and keeping people fresh and thin. And it was like so simple because you got all of these people on the campus. But if you really just know that college just is not your thing, I would say sit your parents down. And if you truly feel it deep, deep down in your spirit, have that conversation with them. And if they won't go for it, at the end of the day, you have to understand that you're actually an adult.
Yeah.
You got to make a good decision for yourself.
Yeah.
Your parents.
Yes.
My mom was, when I first got my first house, and I decided that I would, go in the route that I would do. I didn't have the support. Like, my mom hated the idea of me moving to where I was and getting my first house. She was like, it was a disaster.
Wow.
But I saw a vision, and my mom was mad. But now looking back, my mom was glad that I made the decisions that I made, because it got me to where I am now. So you gotta, but if you're gonna stand by it, you better stand by it with strong conviction, because
Trust the journey.
you gotta trust
It's
it.
gonna be a long ride.
It's gonna be very.
Parents, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm not telling them to disobey, but I am telling them to, you gotta grow. You gotta grow in your belief and your conviction.
I think this last question is.
I think it's telling of the person.
I think
There's
I'm
two
afraid
different,
to
there's
put
two
this on you.
different people.
Yeah.
And there's a very distinct line.
Mhm.
So, do you like pineapple on pizza? Or like...
This is interesting. So, I had pineapple on pizza I had a month ago, and it was actually good.
Yay!
I don't like it.
Are you serious?
I don't like
Wait,
it.
why have I not noticed about you?
No, it's
Bro.
good. Wait, what wouldn't you know? How wouldn't you know if she likes pineapple on pizza or not? That's your sister. You
First of
around
all,
her
it's
the time.
pineapple and ham.
Well, I don't.
I mean, you don't have to put
I'm
ham
a
on it.
vegetarian on it.
I just
And
put pineapple.
You
why
can
are
do
we-
vegetarian
why are we
pizza
putting
with pineapple.
on cheese?
Because
Well, I thought it was delicious.
it adds some flavor to it.
sweetness to
It's just like
I think
it's just like
flavorful
putting
enough.
it's just like
I
putting
think
salt
I'll put
on your
flavors.
watermelon.
That
You
one,
said what?
That's
It's
actually
like
another
putting
one
salt
I'm
on your
gonna have to.
watermelon.
That
It makes
one.
it actually
Try
makes it
that.
sweeter.
That's
It's
so-
good. Not sugar, salt.
Huh.
Try it.
Really?
You would love it.
We'll try that when we get home. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not this is
You got watermelon?
look into.
Actually, no, we don't.
Oh, we get
You
strawberries.
gotta go get some watermelon.
Yeah,
It's cool too on strawberries, but watermelon.
You put
Salt on
strawberries.
Yeah.
This is
Cut
like-
it
this
and
is like-
then cut it and then put some salt on it.
That's never happened. I gotta try some things when I get home.
Really?
Not too much
salt
though. You don't
on
want you to have high blood
Yeah.
pressure.
Thank you so much for your
Yes,
time and being
guys.
here. Before we close out, just drop your Instagram name so people know where to find you, and then
Yes.
leave the people with a little bit of motivation.
A gem?
Yes,
Sure.
a gem, if you
So
will.
my Instagram is Marvin Mitchell Official. Be
Official.
careful. No dashes, no dot. I got like 100 fake names out there. So it's just Marvin Mitchell Official, all one word. And make sure it's spelled right. And
So many scammers. It's so sad
yes,
you gotta
that's
do all
crazy.
that.
Oh, can I tell you one funny story about this scammer really quick? So this scammer, a lot of times they try to go in people's inbox and tell them that, oh, I want you to buy Bitcoin. I want you to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Well, this one scammer did the most. So this scammer was in people's inboxes, and then this girl comes to me through Instagram. She was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Oh, really? What? That's crazy." She's like, "So you're gonna try to talk to me and my cousin?"
What?
And I was like, "I don't even know you." Like,
Talk to me and my
so apparently my scammer was out talking to women,
Oh my god.
and they talked to
catfishing as you?
This is
yes,
not catfishing.
catfishing as me.
Male version.
And one of them must have really liked me a lot because she got an attitude and got mad that I was trying to talk to her cousin too.
Not Marvin official _0.2.
Right. So not that.
It's the way that the scam account contacted both her and her cousin. That's what
I don't think the scam account knew it was her cousin,
This is
But
too much.
just how'd you
but
stumble
they both
upon
thought it
both
was
of
me.
them? Dang.
So anyway,
Scammer stuff.
that's the crazy thing.
Don't scam, y'all.
So
rude.
Marvin
That's
Mitchell
very bad.
Official. Don't do it. It's not good. Stop it. Marvin Mitchell Official. And the gem that I will say is, I need you to go out and fail as many times as you can, because nobody is truly successful until they fail.
Yeah.
So when you fail, you're not failing backwards, you're failing forward. And I will tell you this. The reason why I'm successful is because while the person who is trying to overthink it is still waiting and trying to be a perfectionist to make the right moves, I made the wrong move 10 times, and that's why I'm successful. Because I've already won when you're still trying to figure out the first step.
Yes.
Marvin!
Let's go.
Marvin! You're doing a lot, Marvin. With that Marvin, mic drop, y'all.
Right.
You're a youngin'.
And you are struggling.
It is time to get get to hustling. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Youngnaire. Bye.
Let's go.
Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Hustling.